getting information that's within their language, their mother tongue, and is unrestricted. The question on encryption is, what is it that we want to encrypt and why? That's the question. What is it that we want to encrypt and why? Our TV and television licenses that we've been mandated by ACTSA already govern us, and they give us the rules and regulations in terms of how and what we should and cannot do in terms of operation. Think of your grandmother out in the rural areas. When we make these decisions, we make them in Pretoria or Joburg. We're not considerate of the people right out in the rural areas. Like now, if you think about it, there's almost 3.5 million people that are not accessible to actually ETV, SABC, or the community broadcasters themselves, or even radio. So would it be fair for us to encrypt people and tell them that you are allowed to watch this or you cannot watch this, and if you want to watch this, you must watch this because you must pay an extra fee? If you want those added value services, go and apply for a license at ICASA, and ICASA will mandate it. Not use the government subsidies and not use government money to actually benchmark on that. And then to add on this, that's actually quite a bitter note, is that the delays, we hear about the delays, the 5-year delays and all this. Who has implemented or costed these delays? The delays have been done by the very same ETV. Everything we must ban back and forth because ETV have taken us to court and we mustn't implement. Now ETV says they want encryption, we must bow to what ETV says. Where the majority, I think we're living in a beautiful democracy with the Constitution, where the majority of the broadcasters, SABC and ourselves as community television channels that are free to air, has not been heard. What are we going to do with a system that we're going to not use? We want people to access our content freely and equitably. Thank you.
How do you, I as a manufacturer, want to protect my investment, like government is wanting to protect its investment, by not putting certain conditions? That I have not heard being answered properly. My second point is, Mutaudu talks about extras. I would like to believe that high definition television will come out of these set-top boxes. That's what the free broadcasters or the independent broadcasters would want to see. Also that their programming has got all those benefits. I'm still trying to understand why is it that these arguments are being laid on when it is to the benefit of the consumer, and why we're not putting the consumer in the center of every single argument here and say they would want to have high definition extras, but now we're arguing against those extras.
Lloyd, you're making an assumption which is really worrisome, that your whole argument is premised on the fact that you need conditional access in order to promote competition. That is the underlying assumption of your question, which then makes the argument for non-set-top box control even heavier. Because in very simple terms, if this is the way to promote competition, then it is really not in the interest of the government fiscus or the man in the street to be paying for conditional access in order to promote competition, which will be for the benefit of one or two individual private commercial enterprises. So it's very simple that set-top box control or conditional access or the move to DTT as a broad principle should never be used to promote competition. Nowhere in the world is that possible. There are 5 other parties that have been licensed with pay TV licenses. That is competition, the promotion of competition. There is a regulatory environment where currently the ICASA is in the process of perhaps granting additional pay TV licenses. That is promoting competition. Currently, ODM are a competitor in the pay TV environment. So I think to use digital migration to promote competition would really be would really not be in the interest of the man in the street or the country nor the fiscus. Secondly, let me finish. To come, maybe Calvo should answer the gentleman in terms of high definition and the add-ons.
Thanks for that question. I'm fortunate enough because I also sit on the SABS committee that's dealing with broadcasting issues, and it deals specifically into the set-top box standard. And one of the agreements by all broadcasters, manufacturers, was the inclusion of high definition capability in the set-top box. So that there is no question about it. It sits in the set-top boxes in the current standard of South Africa, so there is no questions around it. However, I understand there are arguments out there that says when you have high definition content, Hollywood studios and some other studios even in the country are demanding that you should have conditional access. And that's not true. In fact, the SABS standard as it currently sits has got a provision for content protection. And what was agreed in that technical committee of the SABS was that we will use what we call high data content protection, which is used elsewhere in the world in terms of content, in terms of protecting content that is of high definition nature. It's for the same reason that when BBC in the UK considered the use of conditional access, came to the conclusion that due to cost, they cannot afford to put conditional access. They rather use the HDCP, which is a high data content protection system, to protect their content. And that's how they dealt with it. But if you then go further to say it's not the minister that made the decision, it's cabinet that made the decision. Let us make a distinction here. We all prescribe to the rule of law. And the current laws of South Africa says the Minister of Communication, it doesn't say cabinet, it says the Minister of Communication has the following powers in terms of policy making. As part of those policy making powers that he is entrusted with, he has decided to put conditional access as part of this draft policy amendment, which we oppose to, which a court has already ruled that he has no powers to. And therefore, that's why we are saying the minister is acting outside his powers by prescribing conditional access in the system.
Calvo, sorry, just a follow-up. It's not the high definition that I'm worried about. Okay. The main question here is that SABC has not come out and said, listen here, MultiChoice, you're on a conditional access platform. Come, I want to out of that. I don't want my programming there. In order for every single person that sits on the border, underneath a mountain, high on a mountain, to get access to television. How does government, that is me as government, protect the money that is going to be subsidizing this set-top boxes? That content is protected across the board. I think that's why conditional access is there. It's to protect the content that is there. So how is that going to be addressed by all of you, including the SABC?
It's now starting to be a manufacturer versus manufacturer issue, because you are coming with interest of manufacturers, as you have indicated. Therefore, I just want to make it very clear that if we have got this debate, let's have it somewhere else, and then let us deal with the position that the people are putting across. Because now you're getting into the technicality of saying, I prefer this as this specific manufacturer, and so on, and that becomes a problem for us, for me, standing here, to say, let us not use this press conference for that kind of discussion, and let us deal with the position. Because the press conference is to deal with the position and allow the media to ask the questions around the issues that they want to ask, and not be about the issues of manufacturer versus manufacturer. Okay.
Firstly, from the point of the departure, this process of conditional access was a mess, and we all know it, if we are honest South Africans. If you followed, how did it come across? How was the vendor appointed? Let us not go in there, because it will raise other litigation after litigation. This process was messed up, but our interest as emerging electronic manufacturers, Namec and Black Business Council, is to see emerging manufacturers playing in the mainstream of the space. And DDT, we believe, is a proper platform. And you are aware that when the CA vendor in the country that's seated there in Europe will decide which manufacturer must manufacture, you need to be accredited, you need to be certified, you need to pay a lot of money before you can be accredited to manufacture. There are issues, there are ongoing operational costs that you need to pay as a manufacturer. There should be a cost of approximately $10 to $15 per set-top box. That money comes from the fiscals, it comes from us as citizens of this country. And we cannot allow that kind of a scenario whereby we will be paying perennially to a company seated in Europe that money. I mean, it doesn't make logic. So as honest South Africans, we need to be honest about ourselves. There's no conditional access vendor in the country, and we don't need one. And the process of DTT has been marred by all that. So let us look at the transformation of the sector. Let us look for issues of employment and job creation, because this CA will decide, the vendor himself will decide, I will accredit Muzi, I'll accredit Lloyd to manufacture. So we don't want those conditions are put upon us. So there are a rate of issues if we can go to what CAs have done all over the world. Let us not go that far. Here we have to deal with the issue of the court. We are going to specifically concentrating on the court ruling that the ministry has no jurisdiction whatsoever over this matter. Because going into the integrities, it will take us a day. Thank you.
Okay. I'm not representing these people here. I should make it clear, I represent the SABC here. Because I have interest at the SABC, not on MultiChoice and other ETVs and so on. And I don't have interest on the manufacturers. I think the issue here, remember, even that box, you need to maintain the box. If you put extras, it's not like you have now this box, you need to maintain, you need to pay royalties. I mean, why are you putting our own people in such a situation? When our own people, they can't even have food a day. Our own gogos at the rural areas where I come from, Kwagwa, they don't even have money to buy airtime. Because immediately when you put that, you cause more harm for our own people. So we are saying no, but we believe, SABC, we are still engaging government. We are still engaging our own minister, because we are saying, Minister, rethink about this issue. Other people are talking about going to court. SABC, we are not going to court. This is our government. DOC is the shareholder. We will engage the minister and show him, like we showed Diana Pule, the former minister, to say, Diana, don't go this route. And the court agree. We didn't take government to court. ETV took government to court, and they won. And the same minister, the former minister, said, no, I'm not going to appeal the ruling of the court, which she did not. And the former minister has given us go-ahead to implement DTT. For us, if you can ask us, are we ready? We can switch on now. SABC, we are ready. We are just waiting for the box. We are ready, we can switch it now. What we are waiting for is a standard box. If MultiChoice and others, they want those extras in the box, they should talk to manufacturers to produce those boxes. Government should pay for a standard box for our own people.
Okay. Mutsaneng, if you could explain, up until late 2012, the SABC was pro-conditional access. We've seen minutes that suggest this. Can you explain?
When you say minutes, you mean?
Board minutes.
Oh,
yeah.
You are a board member now. Okay.
Can you please explain why, if this the argument against conditional access is so straightforward, why the SABC was on the other side of the debate, and what happened that led to the SABC changing its policy or its position on this?
I'm talking about current leaders.
I'm talking about a period when you were at the SABC and you would have been in board meetings.
Which
in 2012.
No, we have never agreed.
There's board minutes that state that the SABC has agreed that there will be conditional access in as late as October 2012.
Maybe what you need to do, show me those minutes. I will check whether I was part of those meetings. But as far as we are aware, we are not in support. Remember, technology is growing every day. Even if board members, they did agree during those days, technology had changed. And here we are not arguing about technology only. We are arguing about business, SABC. How do we sustain a public broadcaster? Those are the issues that we are raising. How do we make sure that universal access is across the board? These are the issues that we are discussing. But as far as I know, I will check those minutes that you are talking about. But even if those minutes are there, we have taken a decision not to go with conditional access. We are a public broadcaster.
Okay.
Can I just remind TV was completely against conditional access or set-top box control, and in fact went as far as to say that it is unconstitutional.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your question in terms of to say what is it that we propose in terms of the set-top box. We've made our proposals to the DOC. We've made the proposals to a presentation that was called upon by the current minister with regards as to what our recommendations are. And our proposals are that we have a simple box that is installed so that everybody within the boundaries and the borders of South Africa can be able to access free television and free radio stations. So that is the proposals that we've made towards that. The issue with regards to
Whose phone is doing this?
sorry. The issue with take that. The issue with regards to whether people have made up their minds and have shifted from one post to another. People do have the rights to change their minds, but no one has actually asked us as community television broadcasters, what is it and what is your input towards this thing? We've always felt that we've been marginalized, been taken like the lost kid on the corner, and no one has taken us seriously. There has been no input or engagement from either government or anything. The court clearly states that the free-to-air broadcasters have the right and the mandate to dictate what is it that they need. Here we're being caught in a situation where manufacturers are putting the cart before the horse, and that's what we're trying to avoid. Encryption for us is a no-no. Why are we complicating a simple box where Umama Wasekaya just needs to tune in and watch SABC 1, tune in and watch Sony TV, and be able to access it? Now there's going to be PIN codes, there's going to be all this kind of stuff. Then we go back to the issue of trying to protect content. You don't need encryption to protect content. You really don't need encryption to protect content. And that is a fact.
The recent channel supply agreement that you signed with MultiChoice specifically prohibits, there's a clause in there that specifically prohibits you from carrying your FTA channels over a system that uses a control system. Why did you agree to do that? And does that mean that the SABC will be unable to carry any of its public service channels over the government-subsidized set-top boxes under the current policy proposals? And Mr. Patel, will you enforce that requirement on the SABC if it comes to it?
Mr. Msuni?
Yeah, look, there is no way MultiChoice can dictate to SABC. When you talk about the contract between us and and MultiChoice, we have already taken a decision with MultiChoice to say 24 news channel that you see there, it is an SABC channel. When I was addressing the issue of mass carry, we had to negotiate with MultiChoice to say, MultiChoice, you are making huge money. Because our own platform, they are well watched in your platform. We know there are regulations that says pay TV, SABC should be there on their platform. But we said, no man, have a sense. Why can't you also invest at the SABC? Because you are also making, making money. But the issue of a contract, we have agreed with them to say no. That one they are not going to dictate. But from SABC, when we took that decision, we have already taken a decision, no, we don't need conditional access so and encryption. So there was no use. Whether you have it, you don't have it. For us, we stick to what we are saying. SABC, it's supposed to be free to everyone. But also what is critical also is, we appreciate what MultiChoice has done. And I want them to put more money on the SABC because they also make money because of SABC. Yeah. So when you see me, my brother, as you were saying, with my, we are not friends when it comes to the two organizations because we are always fighting on those issues. And we are also saying people who want to go on pay TV, they should not remember. People are saying MultiChoice is bulldozing. This is what other people are saying for other broadcasters. Why can't you bulldoze them? Why do you need government to help you if you want to be on pay TV? If you have your own business, what you want to beat them. But in this case, people want to use government so that government can assist them. And I don't think when they come with MultiChoice, government did put money to help them. So I think what is critical, all the channels that will be there on that platform of MultiChoice, it will be SABC channels. When we switch on for DTT, all our channels will go back to our own terrestrial. What is also important, let me clarify this. You know, people when they want to impress Parliament, they will say they will have 10 channels during DTT time. But the issue is, if you don't have funding, you can't have 10 channels. What is good for us with 24-hour news channel, we know now we have 4 channels. If we should switch on for your DTT. If MultiChoice didn't came on board, that channel will never be there. Even if we switch on, you will still have your own SABC 1, 2, and 3. And remember, we also have another second channel that is coming. We are glad that SABC now we are having 5 channels. We are going to have another channel that I don't want to talk about, 2 channels, because we are also trying to get funding, not from MultiChoice, from other people. Because remember, SABC, we sustain ourselves. And when people talk about the government contributed 3%, all of you are aware. And people are saying SABC we are not doing well. Actually, we are doing extremely well. If you look that we sustain SABC. And I'm always saying when we pay people, because I like to pay people, so much our own people, because these are the people who are generating revenue for SABC. And I'm not ashamed to say if they generate more revenue, we will pay them accordingly. They will benefit. So I'm not ashamed, because other people are questioning why Cloud is looking to pay freelancers, looking to pay these people. Remember, government is not giving us money. These are the people who are generating more revenue. If they generate revenue, they should also benefit. And I'm encouraging them to say, go get money. We'll make sure that we look after you. And they have done well. And this is not Cloud, it's the team. The senior management and the staff of the SABC, we are doing so well and we are happy. But if I need more money on this man, I will also approach him. Because my channels are still there, SABC channels. So for us, we are enjoying ourselves within SABC. But I think it is important what you are talking about. But what I'm saying in short is we will make sure that they don't dictate to us. They know that. You know, we are always together. But when it comes to this, I'm also taking him head on about sports. Not to give us these lousy matches. Where you know that you watch the teams that are not having more, supporters. Remember, if it's Pirates and Chiefs, I'm just doing example. You know how many people have interest, but they have locked us out. I'm saying it is wrong. We are in discussion now to resolve that issue.
He's lying so, all the Chiefs and Pirates.
So, you see, I'm not. People think that me and MultiChoice. No, we are. No. The relationship are okay. We are engaging each other, but the interest is the SABC interest that we are looking at.
Mr. Patel, the issue is still with you. Are you going to enforce what he has asked? I think just.
Again, Duncan, it presupposes something. We have a contract. We have respected each other in terms of that contract up to now. It's SABC have respected the contract. We will respect the contract. And I don't want to presuppose that one or other party is going to renege on any contractual obligations. So I'm not going to speculate on what may happen in the future. But right now, it's very simple. Their position is very clear, which really brings no problem to the matter. So.
Can I just ask a follow-up question? I think you haven't directly answered the question. I'd really like you to talk in some detail about what this clause in that contract with MultiChoice means in terms of conditional access and control system and not carrying your channels over such a system. Does it mean that you are contractually obliged not to carry your channels over the set-top boxes that are going to be subsidized by government in terms of current government policy?
No. Maybe let me put it like this. For me, the simple answer is all SABC channels on 24-hour news channel and another channel,
Yes.
they will be on the SABC. They can't dictate that. When it comes to issues of us contracting and so on, remember, we have agreed with them to say, look, when you draft a contract, it's a living document. And the lawyers, they make sure that they protect two parties. But as management, we have sit together to say, no, look, you can't dictate for SABC. What you see in that contract doesn't inform our decision to be against the conditional access. It doesn't inform our decision. This is the decision that we have applied at the SABC. And also, we said to them, actually, no conditional access, we don't want you to switch our own people there. It benefits SABC. The reason why we put it there is for them not to switch our people off.
Okay.
That is the main reason we put for them, actually. For them not to switch people on that 24-hour news channel.
ACTSA and Calvo, I heard you shaking your heads very seriously. You want
No, I
to-
think there's a technical part to your question, and in very simple terms, at the way I understand it, the SABC channels, if there's no set-top box control, will be available on any set-top box, which is exactly the position of the SABC, as I understand it, is that their channels must be available to every, or to all and sundry, every citizen of the country. That's the way I understand it. So I think there may have been an underlying technical portion to your question.
If I'm trying to make sense, the answer is no. SABC will be available in all boxes that are out there. For instance, if Mnet decides to put all their whatever that they want to put in, which might include some control mechanism, because of course we control our viewers on how they view our channels. As the acting COO has already said, those channels will be available on us. So there is no restrictions on where they are going to be, including that clause. It doesn't say there should be restrictions on us as well as whether they should be on our channel. They're going to be available everywhere.
I just want to ask, what is the clause meant to achieve if it's not meant to prevent the channels from being on a set-top box that has conditional access? What is it going to do? Is it going to stop it from being on other people's set-top boxes? What is the reason for the clause?
Everyone has to understand and to get to know who and what we stand for and the reasons why we do not want encryption on this particular. And I'm a bit concerned that none of you guys are actually engaging that. You're engaging, and that's where we feel marginalized as community broadcasters. You're engaging DSTV and SABC, and you are leaving us here like the lost kids. And it's not fair. It's totally not fair.
That's true.
Yeah, and I feel that we are here for a common cause, and it's a cause for the community and the people at large. And let us deal and speak about that. SABC contracts and DSTV contracts, they can be dealt in the boardrooms or bedrooms, I don't know where. But here, it's a press conference. Let us deal with the issue that we've called you guys in to explain what we really want to do. And secondly, I respect a lot of the questions here, but however, for us as community broadcasters, we're still saying that encryption is a no-no because of what impact it has. There's a lot of other technical issues, Lloyd, if I may raise here. For example, who's going to look after the head ends? Who's going to look after all the interfaces and all that kind of stuff there? There's a lot to it that impacts onto the ordinary citizen that's just supposed to go home and just watch television. So that's where we're at.
Good. We are summing up. MultiChoice?
Yes.
Say everything you want to say.
I'm going to.
Okay.
Kaiser, for me and for ladies and gentlemen, it's a very simple matter, and we are complicating it with a lot of noise. First point, nowhere in the world, I reiterate, nowhere in the world is there a situation where government pays for set-top box control in the free-to-air DDT box. Nowhere in the world. Okay. Number two, if you take the example of the United Kingdom, let me just place you there for a few minutes. In 2008, if you were not a pay TV subscriber, you just had your ordinary BBC channels, and there's the transfer to DDT. If you wanted to buy a DDT box, you went into a supermarket, like when you went to Tesco's, You walked in with your trolley, you bought all your other items. In one corner in the shop is an area where you paid £20 for your DDT converter. Let me call it a converter. You go home, you plug it in, and voila, you get all your extra DDT channels. That's 2008, okay. In 2013, the reason for that converter is that you may have had an old TV that cannot pick up the DDT signal, the digital signal, because your old TV cannot pick up a digital signal. So it converts that digital signal so that your old TV can see the new channels. It's a simple converter, 2008. Now, if you walk into a supermarket in 2013 and you decide that I want to upgrade my TV, okay, you go and buy a TV. That TV, in the United Kingdom, you will only get a digital TV now, and they are cheap. You switch on your digital TV, it will automatically pick up those digital signals and you will have your extra channels. You will not need that converter that you bought in Tesco in 2008 anymore. You will not need it. You will take it, you'll either throw it in the rubbish bin, or you'll go to your neighbor, Calvo, who doesn't have one, and you'll say, use it. Are you with me? And he gets digital TV if he hasn't yet got one. Okay. Now, why in South Africa would we want to take that simple converter and make it a complex box at large cost to the consumer, to the man in the street, to the taxpayer? Why would we want to do that? So what happens today is if DDT gets switched on, I will buy my converter, I will switch it on, my old TV will pick up the new DDT signals and 10 of his extra channels. Okay? Now, and his channels, my apologies. Let's not forget about him. In 2016, I want to upgrade my TV. The cost of digital TVs are going down, they're reducing by at least half every 18 months. Okay? I want to go and buy a new TV. I go into a supermarket, I'm not even going to be able to find an old TV. I will automatically be buying a digital TV. Why do I need to then still go and buy a set-top box to get those signals when the digital TV should be automatically receiving those things? Why? Why on earth would I want to do that? So the converter or set-top box as we understand it should be a simple temporary mechanism until digital TVs in this country in the next 3, 4, 5 years will be in full proliferation. Why do we need to incur enormous costs, enormous complexity, and on top of that to support, as Lloyd has suggested, certain private interests? It is just not on.
Last word from Namec.
It should be borne in mind that Namec was the first one after we've done our research, having gone globally, where DTT was already implemented. And we realized that the issue of CA is not the way to go. And went in publicly with Black Business Council to say conditional access is no way to go. That's where this thing started as a public debate. Maybe I should forward to my BBC compatriot.
As I initially mentioned that the Black Business Council is really about advocacy, where we talk to government and say, we don't believe that you really applied your minds in promulgating these acts because it impacts negatively on the majority of our people. And in this instance, in echoing the sentiments of our president when we had a joint colloquium with Namec a month ago, he expressly said that let the politicians deal with politics and let issues of broadcasting and digital migration be dealt with by the people who have the better knowledge or understanding of these issues. In echoing his sentiment, I think politics is not about right or wrong. It's about left or right. So it's a position that you adopt. And in this instance here, I believe that we need to put economics into perspective and understand the impact of coming up with set-top boxes with conditional access, what they have on the broader community and society. We are dealing with a triple challenge in the country of inequality, poverty and unemployment. And if I can be told or shown that the inclusion of conditional access and set-top boxes will help in the eradication of all of those challenges, then I'll be happy. But if they don't go that route, then we still have a problem of transformation in the country. Thank you.
I did ask about government is saying people are going to pay those boxes. I'm talking about the commercial broadcasters. You pay that box for 20 rands. To put those extras and manufacture that box is more expensive, more than that 20 rands that you are talking about. Actually, people will score is MultiChoice and ETV, because ETV they are also intending to go on pay TV, so they will score more. SABC will suffer, and we can't allow that to happen. And remember, government pays once off. It's once off. They are not going to maintain those boxes if you have problems with boxes, or if you lost your box. You're gonna buy those boxes? So it's very huge cost for government. So for me, really, 20 rands, it doesn't. I wonder, because everything is going up in this country. So you can't say for the coming 20 years people will pay 20 rands, and when government actually is using more money for those boxes. I don't think that should happen in this country. But also you talk about the policy. It's a government policy. Government should develop policy. They should not dictate the extras in the box. That is what the court is saying. Develop the policy, say they put the standard on, but don't say, it's like you're buying your own Audi. I like Audi because I drive Audi. If you go and buy Audi, you go there, you choose whether you need a standard Audi or you need extras. For me, I need standard because I don't have time to play in the car because I would cause accident. So mine is, this car will take me to home where I want to go. This is what we are saying. I can't pay extras. I don't pay extras in the car. We are also saying a government should not pay those extras, because the same car that I'm using and MTS is using with his extras, the same speed will reach the same place. So I don't understand why we should people should put extras. And if you look, even people who put extras, they don't even use those extras in that car. Maybe they are just excited to say when people come, hey, look my car, but they don't even use those extras. But what we are saying here, we are saying there are so many issues that government need to attend to in this country for poor people. So let us not put more pressure, because SABC will be able to do the work that we need to do. And also remember, some people, they were saying government, they want to communicate. They will use the box to communicate. SABC were able to communicate now. We have subtitled with different languages. You can use that communication. We have that system. And we have told the minister to say, what you are talking about is not an issue, because we are able to communicate now. We are able to use our own radio now. Radio has been digitalized long ago, because it's just a phone, you can communicate. We have relationship with government to communicate, whether it's disaster. You have seen how have we done for our own Icon Mandela, including all of us, including print media and us. We have done so well. But what I'm saying, for me, I don't think a policy, just you develop a policy. Remember, that is not an act that you are talking about. Policy, you can change policy within the DOC. So what the minister needs to do now is to review, to say, I have listened, I have checked, because it's not about us as broadcasters. It's about our own audience. What are we saying to our own people? People are complaining about other matters now, to say we don't have money. But now we want to put more pressure on these people who don't have money, who can't even buy a television. And now it's television, it's a box, it's extras in the box. We know that government is going to pay, and I don't think government will pay for every citizen in this country. They are not going to pay for every citizen. Few people will benefit, those will benefit. But for me, the cost of royalties and maintenance and all complicated issues in those boxes, really, it will cause harm for our own people. And SABC should be accessible everywhere, including to MultiChoice and others. But even those others, if they want us, we are prepared, but they should put money. Not for free. They should put money. Not that 20 rands. We are against 20 rands because it's not even sustainable. Thank you.
On that note, there's something for you to nibble out there when you go.